on Chanda. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. Humble obeisances to all of you. I will begin by offering the invocation prayers to our spiritual masters. Om Adnyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishna Bhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Prabhupada ki Jai Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Krishnapristhaya. So thank you all very much again, and we will speak today about the verse that Prabhuji already sharing on the screen. Is the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the verse number 7. And as you all probably have attended the previous sessions, so you know this is the chapter Krishna consciousness, Karma Yoga and Krishna consciousness. And the section that is, it's a very beginning of the chapter where Krishna is answering Arjuna's question. It's what is better? Is the Karma Yoga better or the renunciation better? And Krishna is explaining how Karma Yoga is better than renunciation. So this particular section is particularly speaking about the Nishkam Karma Yoga, the selfless devotional act of working for Krishna, and the resultant liberation from the bondage of a material existence. So there is a connection to the previous verse that you probably did yesterday, which is the 6th verse in the 5th chapter. Okay, so no, actually, first let's recite this verse which we are talking about. So the current verse that we are going to look at today is the verse number 7, and it goes like this. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma purvannapi lipyate. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma purvannapi na lipyate. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma purvannapi na lipyate. Anybody would like to recite?
Yoga yukta vishatma vijatma jitarasya sarva bhutama bhutatma karu varna apina lipyate.
Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma bhutatma purvannapi na lipyate.
So let's go over the word by word translation. Every word is very interesting in this verse, and every word has a purport. So let's very carefully look at the words. Yoga Yukta, engaged in devotional service. Vishuddhatma, a purified soul. Vijitatma, self-controlled. Jitendriyaha, having conquered the senses. Sarva Bhuta, to all living entities. Atma Bhuta Atma, compassionate. Purvan Api, although engaged in work. Na, never. Lipyate, is entangled. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Although always working, such a man is never entangled. Would anybody like to read the translation so it gets into our heart?
The one who works in the devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Although always working, such a man is never entangled.
Okay, thank you. So let's look at the purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. One who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him. This is due to his Krishna consciousness. Such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of a tree are not separate from the tree. He knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all the leaves and branches. Or by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all, he is very dear to everyone. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna. Nor is there any chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics relating to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. He does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. One may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in the battle to the others? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness? Arjuna was only superficially offensive because, as has already been explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons on the battlefield would continue to live individually as the soul cannot be slain. So, spiritually, no one was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only their dresses were changed by the order of Krishna, who was personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of work. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So it's interesting to look at the previous verse, 5.6, where the same word has been used. Yoga yukta munir brahma na achirena adhigacchati. Yoga yukta has been translated by Srila Prabhupada as one engaged in devotional service. So this is, the talking is about the Yoga yukta muni. So one who is engaged in devotional service and is a thinker. So the translation is a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service. So that is what is being spoken of in this verse and in the previous verse. So the discussion is continued in the 7th verse about this Yoga Yukta Muni, or a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service. So we saw that in the previous verse that such a person very quickly achieves the understanding of Brahman because he is engaged in the devotional service. And going to the verse that is currently under our discussion. So it says Yoga Yukta. So that person who is thoughtful, Muni, who is but engaged in work of devotion, is a pure soul, Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, he controls his mind, and his Jitendriya, he controls his senses. And in that way, he is Sarva Bhuta Atma, Bhutatma, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. And in that way, he is Kurvan, he is working, but he is na lipyate, he is not entangled. And this is the description of Nishkam Karma Yoga. Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is selfless devotional work in the service of Krishna, in the yoga. So more characteristics of this Yoga Yukta Muni are described in this 7th verse, which is under consideration. So all of these are the characteristics. He is Vishuddhatma, he is Vijitatma, he is Jitendriya, and he is dear to all and all are dear to him. And he is not entangled. So these are the characteristics that are being spoken of in this verse. And so I'll speak about the general theme of this verse, or rather a couple of these verses, that how in Karma Yoga, which is Nishkam Karma Yoga, one can get liberated from the bondage of material existence. That's the idea. That's the bigger concept. And this is how this is so, because as we have seen the flow of philosophy, this person who is a Muni, who has understood the transcendental knowledge, coming from the 4th chapter onwards, having knowledge, and especially even if we see the 6th verse, he has attained the Brahman conception. He has realized what is material, what is spiritual. He has realized, and in that sense, he understands the nature of this material world as incompatible for our existence, for our living. And in that way, if that person is able to understand that the material world is incompatible for himself or herself, or for creating permanent happiness, then this person decides to act only for the purification in this material world. So this material world we are situated in, there is no option, we cannot go out. But at the same time, we realize that this is not something that I want to pursue. This is not I want to connect to, because it's not giving me real situation of my original position. And that's how I can only utilize this for my own purification. And while I'm purifying myself in this world, I don't want to get attached again into other reaction. And that's why I want to be detached from my material results. So when this mindset is there, that mindset is exactly what is being spoken in this verse. And with this mindset of working only for purification without getting attached to the results of your work, actually is the cause for liberation, or not getting entangled or getting liberated from the bindings of this material world. So it's a very beautiful concept, and just one verse, but there's so much into the verses prior and afterwards that will take this theme onwards, and we can meditate on this theme for a longer time. So let's look at a little more details as to how does this person who is called Yoga Yukta Muni, or a thoughtful person in devotional service, how does this person realize this incompatibility of the material world? So one of the lectures, Srila Prabhupada mentions that everything that we see in this material world can be understood as energy of Krishna. So once we understand this energy of Krishna, we see Krishna's connection in that. So anything and everything that we see around us can be seen as an energy of Krishna, and in that way we can see Krishna present in that. For example, the sunshine, we see the sunshine, we immediately realize that the sunshine is connected to the real sun who's up in the sky. And that way we understand the connection of the sunshine with the actual sun. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada mentions that this world is an energy of Krishna. It's connected to Krishna, and that way, when we understand this as a yoga yukta muni, then we want to utilize this material world in the proper way, which means only for the sake of Krishna. And in that way, we can really become we can be situated as yoga yukta, which means we can be situated in devotional service, because anything and everything that we have around us, we will utilize it knowing that it's a part of Krishna and in the service of Krishna, for pleasure of Krishna. And in that way, we can situate it in something called Yukta Vairagya. Srila Prabhupada makes a reference to that in the purport. And this Yukta Vairagya is further described in the Nectar of Devotion by Srila Rupa Goswami. And the verse is like this: Anasakta Vishyan Yatarharam Upayunjitaha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Muchyate. And the meaning is that things should be accepted for the Lord's service and not for one's personal sense gratification. And if one accepts something without attachment and accepts it because it's related to Krishna, then one's renunciation is called Yukta Vairagya. This Yukta Vairagya is a way to get disentangled from this reactions of this world. And so in this way, we will look at more characteristics. So the word Vishuddhatma is also translated by Prabhupada as a purified soul. So what is the meaning of purified soul? So the soul is pure in its own nature. Pure soul is never gets impure. So let's understand what's the meaning of this word purified soul. And for that reason, if you see the word Atma, Vishuddhatma, Atma can be referred to as either soul or intelligence or mind or even the Supreme Lord. So the word Atma has been utilized in or has been described in 4 different ways. So in this particular connection, and the word Atma refers to the intelligence. So purification of intelligence is Vishuddhatma. Purification of the mind is Vijitatma, and purification of the senses is Jitendriya. So the purification of the soul happens, not the purification of the soul, but the purification of the covering of the soul, which is made up of subtle energy, subtle body, which is intelligence, mind, and ego, self-ego, and also the external, which is indriyas. So purification of the covering is the main idea of this Yoga Yukta Muni. And in that way, if one can purify his subtle body, then the binding of the soul also gets purified, and that's how his further journey can happen. And if you remember in the 3rd chapter, Krishna specifically mentions these 3 areas: intelligence, mind, and senses, as the coverings are the sitting places of the lust. So if you see in the 40th verse, it says Indriyani Mano Buddhir Asya Adhishthanam Uchyate. Right? The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. And through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So basically, the point is these 3 coverings are the sitting places of the lust, and they can make us bewildered, confused in this world. And that's how these 3 things have to be purified. And that's what is being mentioned here in 5.7. It says, Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, Jitendriya. So when this purification happens, then we become free from inner captivation that happens by lust. Because the lust, when we are preoccupied with lust, we have sense enjoyment to create our own happiness, and that's how we have a captivation, and that's how purification never takes place in that way. So that's why it is insisted that Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, and Jitendriya has to happen. And in this way, purification of the subtle body is necessary for this Yoga Yukta Muni. And sometimes, freedom from subtle body, you can say, in other words, the freedom from the covering of the subtle body is necessary. So sometimes when we compare with materialistic people, sometimes they appear to be more free than this Yoga Yukta Muni, because they seem to be free on their bodily level. They can do anything that they want and they enjoy the way they want. But the thing is, that kind of freedom is illusory, because it's on the bodily level, and it's deluding, because they are actually not free. Even though they are acting freely, they are actually bound up. They're actually entangled in their own activities. And it's very well explained later on in the 16th chapter, when Krishna explains this particular verse I'm referring to, 16.11 and 12. So he's describing exactly the same person who's a very highly materialistic person, that Asha Pasha Shatar Baddha Kama Krodha Parayana Ihante Kama Bogartham Anyarthayan Sanchayam. So they believe that gratifying the senses is the primary necessity of human civilization. And till the end of their life, their anxiety is immeasurable, and they are bound by a network of hundreds and thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, and like that. So the idea is that the materialistic people who seem to be very fashionably free are actually bound by a network, Krishna says, of hundreds and thousands of desires, and they're absorbed in lust and anger, and they are never, in fact, they are never free, and they're always bound. But that freedom is illusory, is deluding, as compared to the freedom that we are talking about, this Yoga Yukta Muni, who is Kurvan, who is not entangled into anything, na lipyate. So understanding, this comparison could be helpful for us. So the idea is to overcome this illusory feeling that I am free. That is the idea of this Yoga Yukta Muni. He wants to get over with this illusory feeling of so-called material freedom, but actually Asha Pasha Satar Badre, actually entangled into hundreds and thousands of desires. So that's why he wants to cut the ropes of the inner binding, inner captivation, and when that happens, he becomes deeply peaceful, as Srila Prabhupada explains in that lecture. When he becomes deeply peaceful, he can have his own mind control and sense control and intelligence control. And in that way, a Krishna conscious person can think that I am not the doer, and only Krishna is arranging everything. So in that, because he, again, you can see this Nishkam Karma Yogi is trying to utilize as Yukta Vairagya everything that he sees in this material world in the service of Krishna, because we're still talking about Karma Yoga. So it's not giving up everything. It's still, we are in Karma Yoga stage, and we are utilizing for the sake of Krishna. And in that way, the idea is that Kurvan nalapi lipyate, Kurvan api nalipyate, thinking that I'm not the doer, will make us free from the bondage. Because if you remember, in the later on, coming in the 18th chapter, there is a whole big analysis of factors of action, and the most important factor of action is Krishna, is the supreme the supreme authority, supreme supervision. And a Yoga Yukta person understands that I am not doing because Krishna is arranging everything, and I'm just acting on behalf of Krishna. And that's how he is able to be free from any reactions to work. So in this way, that person now is purified in his heart, is purified of his inner captivation of lust. And in that way, he becomes the well-wisher of all, because as Srila Prabhupada mentions the analogy, to see the leaves and the branches as a part of the tree. He sees each and every living entity, not just the humans, but every living entity as a part of Krishna. And when people are self-centered in the material world, what happens? We are self-centered. Everything is centering around our own happiness, our own comfort, peace and everything, then we have conflict of interest, because my satisfaction, my happiness, my comfort in this world may not be the same as another person's comfort. And also my happiness and my peace and my comfort will be at the cost of another person's happiness. So that's usually the formula in this world, that if I want to be happy, then it has to be at the cost of another person. And that's why there is always a conflict of interest, because our interests are never common. And that's how everything gets materially motivated in this world, and people get entangled. But if things become Krishna centered, like as we have been talking about Yoga Yukta Muni, who is working as Nishkam Karma Yogi, then things are not self-centered, but Krishna centered. And as soon as it's Krishna centered, it becomes a common interest for him to join with other people's interests, because he looks at the other people's ultimate interest, not bodily interest or material interest, but he looks at them as souls. He does not look at their bodies, he does not look at their materialistic situations, but he looks at their souls and the soul's welfare. So in that way, he can understand that my interest is to be situated in Krishna and to utilize everything Krishna's service. And my interest is that I would like to help other people also get situated in this Krishna consciousness. And that's how my interest is the same as I see their interest as. And that's how we can work for the common interest for everybody. And that is the real understanding, or that the real process for his becoming spiritually selfless. So this Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma has this concept that you can become a well-wisher of all, spiritually a well-wisher of all, and you can become a spiritually selfless person for helping everybody. And that's the real actual help this Yoga Yukta Muni can do. And in this way, his actions are not for himself. His actions are not for his own comfort and peace to be created in this world. And that's how his actions being on behalf of Krishna, they do not bring any reaction. So you can see the work could be the same, because here is being said Kurvanna. So I'm sorry, this so this says Kurvan. Let me declare this. Okay. So this work could be the same, exact same, right? We have spoken about that many times, like people like devotees who are the householders and other materialistic people, they also are earning money, we are also earning money. We have families, they have families. So work could be externally look the same, but since we are working on behalf of Krishna, he nullifies the reactions. He nullifies the reactions. He never allows the reactions to reach us. And in that way, we do not get attached to the reactions. And that's how we gradually can get liberated from this bondage that we are carrying with us. So in this way, there could be a conclusion of this verse saying that if we don't have internal attachment, then there is no entanglement. So that is the difference between an ordinary materialistic person doing the same activity and we are doing a same activity, but we don't have internally an attachment for our own satisfaction. We do it, it's not zero, because we are still into the sadhana bhakti, and we are still trying to do it for Krishna. So it may not be 100%, but a yoga yukta mani, which is the ideal, which is the ultimate stage that we have to reach at, for that person, there is no internal attachment, because that person is already Vishuddhatma, is already Vijitatma, is already Jitendriya. So for that person, he is working only for the satisfaction of other people. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, right? So in that way, he has no internal attachment, and that's why there is no entanglement. So the work could be there, the acting could be there, but it's a matter of attachment and detachment. So just because it's the Nishkam Karma Yoga he's doing, he has no internal motivation, internal captivation for lust, internal attachment for self-centeredness, and that's how he can avoid the entanglement. and he can avoid the reactions to the world. So when one has a inner purity, so this Yoga Yukta Muni is trying to get the inner purity. And with this inner purity, even though the acting is there, but just because the inner purity is there, there will not be any outer binding of the actions that he's doing. There's no reaction that's coming to him, because the internal purity, being a purified soul and being in the Yoga Yukta, in the service of Krishna, he is able to avoid the reactions to the world because he's not working on his own. And this is something that we would like to achieve as sadhana bhaktas, bhakti yogas, that we would like to become purified in terms of our mind, intelligence, and senses, and we would like to we would like to see everyone as dear to us, because we would like to see everyone as a part of Krishna. Would like to see to their common interest, of the spiritual interest. And it is said that this person is dear to everyone, and it's a great point to meditate upon, as to how can we become dear to everyone, because in this world, having so many political and other turmoils, nobody can become dear to everyone. It's very difficult to find a person who will be dear to everyone. But since Krishna is saying that this is Yoga Yukta Muni is dear to everyone, and that we can understand from these examples of Srimad Bhagavatam, of various munis, various great devotees of Krishna. When they were on earth, they were living and they were doing their devotion to Krishna, they were dear even to the evil people. So, for example, in the Shad Goswami Ashtakam, in the second, I don't have that verse right in front of me, but I'll take time to recollect the words. But my point is that in that verse also, it has been described about the 6 Goswamis, that Dhira Dhira Priyajano, right? So they were dear to Dhira people, and they were also dear to Adhira people. Like they were dear to people who understood spirituality, and they were also dear to ordinary people, because even ordinary people can understand the spiritual potency of these Yoga Yukta Munis. And somehow or the other way, there could be a small section of people who are really evil and they want to really destroy the spiritual person, but that could be a short-term event, and that could be very short in terms of time also. And very soon, this Yoga Yukta Muni has been time and again, this kind of a person has proved that he very, very soon wins the hearts of all the people, whether they are evil-minded or they are spiritually oriented. And we have hundreds and thousands of examples. In fact, I would like to invite you, if you can think of any historical examples from Bhagavatam, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you can give me more like specific story of maybe Mahaprabhu or Nityananda Prabhu or any other personalities from Bhagavatam, where these Muni, the Yoga Yukta person that we are talking about, has become very dear to everyone, irrespective. I can think about immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu going to Jarikanda forest and becoming dear to the animals. The animals came together, they hugged Mahaprabhu, they hugged everybody, each and every, like the deer is hugging the elephant. How is that possible? It's a common interest. And this common interest was evoked by the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that one example came to my mind. But there are, I'm sure, so many examples. And when we are on this path of Krishna consciousness, we are trying to spiritually progress. This could be one of our goals, one of our yardsticks to check where we stand from maybe 5 or 10 years back before we started Krishna consciousness. Where am I standing today? Am I amicable to all the people? Or am I creating more and more enemies? Or am I able to create more friends? Irrespective of whether they follow Krishna consciousness or not. But just because of my spiritual sadhana, if my mind just as has been said, if I am trying to become Vishuddhatma and Vijitatma Jitendriya, if my mind, intelligence, and senses are controlled, then how am I becoming dear to people around me? And we can start that from our family. If we are peaceful, if we are spiritually situated, naturally our family members would start liking us. And there are also, again, in ISKCON, hundreds and thousands of examples of these young boys and American young boys and girls who joined Srila Prabhupada in the 60s and the 70s. And at that time, their families were in great turmoil. They were thinking that this is a great disaster, that my boy and my girl, they are leaving and joining some sadhu. But eventually, all of these wonderful souls that were attracted to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada made all of them like Yoga Yukta Munis, and they were all wonderfully controlling their mind senses from all these material phantasmagoria. They were able to control their activities, even in spite of the whole world going crazy. And over a period of time, they all became very, very dear to their families. In fact, I have a very, very, very fresh example. Some of you might know that um, uh, His Holiness Jadvit Maharaj's mother, she's in the hospital, and I had a good fortune to see her. And when I went close to her, she was a little bit not alert 100%, but her mind was very much working. And she said, "I know I have a wonderful boy." And she repeatedly said, "I know I have a wonderful son, and I'm being loved." And so this is a great example that I was just imagining when Jadvit Maharaj, when he was 19 years old, he left his home and he joined Prabhupada's movement, and he took the first job of stapling the papers. What his mother must have thought, what the family must have gone to. But today, they are so much appreciative of Maharaj. They know exactly their good fortune. She has been telling me again and again, "I'm so fortunate because I have this wonderful son." So in this way, we have this very, very live example within ISKCON, how these sadhus, they have become very, very dear to their, not only their families, but to the community, to the society in general. So I will stop here, and I will request all of you, I'll go on to this thing now, yeah. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. And I would like to hear a few things from you now. Just your understanding, your realizations, your experiences, or your questions, comments.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for giving us this great knowledge. I just feel like the yogis you touched are very, very rare species which God creates. Is this a common thing for all human beings? Because entanglement is very obvious, and the senses are really strong to take you to different
directions.
Yeah, so is this topic relates to every human being or just to the blessed souls which are created by God specially?
No, this can apply to anybody, because Krishna never qualifies that only I'm talking about the great souls who are very rare. He never says that. He's talking to a householder, Arjun, who is very much entangled right now until the second chapter into his own sense gratification. He is completely bewildered. He's confused. So he seems to be one of us, and Krishna is speaking to him, and that's how he's speaking to us also. So Krishna wouldn't speak something which is extremely difficult, right? So that's why the sadhana bhakti, we are using our senses in the service of Krishna, gradually practicing. So yes, it's difficult in one sense, that it's difficult to be able to qualify as Jitendriya, Vijitatma, Yoga Yukta Muni. They seem to be very difficult terms for us to achieve, but at the same time, Mahaprabhu's mercy, Mahaprabhu's devotional arrangement is there for us, we definitely make progress. So I wouldn't encourage you to feel pessimistic. Feel very, very optimistic that yes, this could be one of us, and we can definitely by end of our lives progress substantially.
Yeah, because when we try to do that in or adapt in our lives, try to, because we are attached to Krishna, something or the other comes in the life which shows that the materialistic things are like magnets, attracts to you, and you just lost the way you want to be because of, as you said, told, like souls, we have to purify the body and all that, but my understanding is all this is going to be not existing things. Only soul is what we need to purify, and that's what carries us with in the next life. So somehow the one thing is the materialistic things, like sometimes your family disturbs you, sometimes your office disturbs you, and you go out of the way. And second is the soul is what we carry forward, not the body or intelligence or.
Yeah, but we do carry subtle body with us. Soul is never impure. In the second chapter, Krishna explains that the soul never gets impurity because soul is not a part of this world. The soul is a transcendental thing. So soul is never affected by the more. So it's the subtle body which is impure, which we carry to the next life, and that's how the soul comes in trouble. So is the purification of the subtle body, which is the covering for the soul, that it needs to be purified. And as you said, yeah, there are problems. Now this world is never a easy cake, easy piece of cake. Krishna never says that. He says that dukhalam shashvatam. And time and again in all the scriptures and everywhere in the history also it's been said, this world is going to be a trouble. It's going to be a place of war, a war against maya, a war against illusion, war against our senses. But that doesn't mean that we should give it up, because especially I like this verse from the 18th chapter. It's verse number 48, where Krishna says, Sahajam karma kaunteya, sadosham api na tyajit, sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena agni avrutaha. He says that every endeavor in this world is covered by some fault, just like fire is covered by smoke. But one should not give it up just because it is faulty. So even though our sadhana is faulty, even though our senses are pulling us back again and again, we should keep on striving, because Krishna says that it's going to be like that. It's not going to be perfect. Because if it's perfect, then what's the problem? We don't have to sit in this material world. But since we are imperfect, everything is going to be imperfect. But that doesn't mean we give it up. We need to strive and keep it striving. We keep striving for that, because Krishna himself is encouraging us in that way. So that's why the association of devotees and special mercy of some of the very highly elevated devotees, all of this comes very handy for us, because we alone, we cannot strive. That there's a prayer to Guru. It says it says Amito Kangala Krishna Krishna Boli Dhai Tava Pache Pache, right? So we have no Shakti. Amito Kangala, like we have no Shakti, spiritual potency. But if spiritual master gives me a little bit of drop of mercy, then I can somehow stand on my legs and keep moving on. So it's not a one day fair. You have to be very consistent. But if the faith is in place, like we know that this is the right thing, this is the path, then we can walk even though we are faltering. Just like the child, it walks and it falls down, but that we have the capacity. The child has the capacity to walk eventually over a period of time. So we also have a capacity to revive our Krishna consciousness, but just the endeavor. We have to do the endeavor in the right company and all that. Yeah. Does it encourage you, Prabhuji, or?
So I am encouraged, not I'm not going away, but sometimes, like a live example, I don't. It's personal, but you try to satisfy your surroundings, your people near you, your family, but sometimes they come back that I need more.
Mhm.
Is it the right way to approach the materialistic world with the Krishna consciousness to satisfy and help? I don't know what should be it will be personal or it will be a family one, or you should run away from the people you don't like.
No, actually, it's a parallel journey, and I always like this particular concept because it's very, very useful. See, we are talking about devotional service, so one aspect is service, which is external, and devotion is an internal aspect. So, similarly, when we are dealing with our family, with our problems or whatever it is, we have a parallel journey. Externally, we might have to do certain things that will satisfy them, and because we are not renounced, we are in the householder, we have 100 things. So yeah, we try to keep them Krishna conscious in nature. Uh, but internally is your own journey with you and Krishna. That can never stop. It is not affected by your external material conditions, no matter what. Krishna consciousness is a very inner thing, and it can go on irrespective of your external adverse conditions. So personally, I can only give my own example. So no matter what happens externally in my family, in my environment, I know internally I have some yardsticks to achieve, and these yardsticks, like today's verse, like this is the yardstick. Where can I do my nishkam karma for Krishna's sake? Internally. Externally, yes, and then gradually, eventually, we are able to move everything in Krishna's favor. But until we are reaching that stage, it's a struggle, and nobody is denying that it's not a struggle. And Krishna consciousness is not promising you that all will be good, or you can run away, or anything like that. It's a very much a battlefield, and your inner journey is your own personal, which will never be affected, and that's how we can carry on.
Thank you for explaining this. I will try to adapt it more strongly. And I really see your Krishna consciousness, and whenever I see you, I feel happy. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I don't even know are you Rajesh Narkere?
No, I'm not, but
Okay.
I see you in the temple and I see your devotion, and that's why I was able to ask you these questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hi.
Anybody else? Anybody else has any questions, comments, reflections, concerns? Yeah, this is a beautiful forum. You can open up. You can raise your any questions. This way, you can understand more. We can also, get the other thoughts. So nice. Anybody else? Very quiet. Means everybody is very convinced. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Prabhuji, I want to share my own experience.
Please, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I felt whatever I get, whatever share from the nature, whether good or bad, it's own for my own spiritual development. If I don't undergo those challenges, then my development will be incomplete. That's what I felt, Prabhuji, when whatever.
I didn't understand. We didn't understand what you said. Can you explain a little more detail?
Yeah, whatever individual's person gets, the circumstances, whether good or bad, we should be ready to take it or face it. If we try to avoid those things, then our development, spiritual development, will not be complete. Everything, whatever nature or Krishna, they're trying to help us, give us challenges, and we have to take them. If I miss those challenges, and my part of development will be incomplete, and again take birth, and again I have to undergo this process.
Yeah.
That's what I feel, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dharma Pranam. All glories to Prabhupada. Mataji, Dharma Pranam, Hare Krishna, Nandini Mataji. It was very nice to see you after so long.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Anuradha, right?
Anji, Anuradha.
Okay.
Mataji, I was like listening to Vrindavan Prabhuji from Vrindavan, and was listening his lecture when I was walking today, and he also shared something like how Lord Brahma is also the incarnation of, like, been created by Lord Vishnu, and he's been asking and seeking who is he, has been trying to find and seeking for the answers when he saw the ocean around was very unstable, so he did a lot of austerities after hundreds of celestial years. When he did so much austerities, he has been enlightened by Lord Vishnu, and he understood. Then everything stopped. So where they started to begin to create the creation, and this intelligence came from Lord Vishnu. So his intelligence is working through him, where he created all the creation, where he started creating all that lokas, or 14 levels of world. So I was, when walking, and thinking about, like, as you also, like, nishkam, karma yoga, where we should do, surrender to the Lord. So we are part and parcel. What I'm trying to say is that we are the part and parcel of Lord Krishna, where the intelligence came from Krishna to Brahma, and he created everything. So we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we don't realize it because of the material circumstances, what our previous karmas, that we are not able to understand what's the purpose of life. And it's beautifully, he narrates such a beautiful way, where he is sitting on the lotus, and his lotus was spread all over the universe, and each and every petal of of his the lotus turned into the universe. So it was so beautifully narrated. I think it was a canto 10. And today also, when you were talking, I was in the situation where Prabhuji also saying, like, seeking people, like, seeking more from you, and you want to step forward towards Lord Krishna. You always want to, when Prabhuji said, join our class in 5 classes starting in 5 minutes, that's mean Krishna is there. Join his hand, and he's there to hold you up. Don't waste time. And I feel that, and then something pulls back. So, like, like, he puts you in different situation. But again, what Prabhuji was saying, that it is for your mental maturity, maybe a spiritual maturity, where Krishna put you in the situation where he wanted you to be more mature. Maybe I'm not sure about that, but today only I was working for some kind of, like, application I have to fill, and my sister asked me to do it for a couple of, like, weeks, and I said I will, and I was not putting giving it attention, because it was not my interest to and she said, no, it is meant for you. I feel that, why don't you try? And trust me, half-heartedly, and I forcefully, I did it. And it was like for actual teacher training, and it was 75 teachers been selected all over US. So when I was writing this paper, and I was not sure what Krishna wants me to do, and I was, like, just sitting, and today I got my result that, okay, you've been selected. So trust me, Mataji, trust me, I was not I was very content. I was not excited. I tried my for my heart. I want to be excited. I want to, like, how happy I was, like, kind of, but I'm not able to, unable able to. I was feeling like, no, this is not what I wanted to do. And today she wanted me to announce to other teachers we have a conference, and I said, as I was quiet, she said, why don't you say? I said, I don't know, I don't want to say anything. So I don't know, my heart is saying something, and my, maybe I will be learning And Someshwar Babuji, in my heart, I was thinking, maybe whenever I teach or get some understanding towards teaching, I always think of maybe one day Krishna wants me to talk about Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Maybe I can use those strategy when I teach. And but I don't know how, when, and where it's going to happen. Like I can use that knowledge to create something, maybe online, like by learning more technology or flip grids, how I can use these technologies to maybe create quizzes for Bhagavad Gita. I was driving, I was literally thinking all those things. So I don't know what is the situation, and this is what I feel, my experience right now, where I'm right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Motherji, for sharing your heart. That's quite nice. That's we can feel that sincerely you are trying. That's very good. Very good. Wonderful. Yeah. Anybody else? Anything to share? Any thoughts? Need Proji or
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, Hare Krishna
yeah.
Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam.
I was just thinking about what Anuradha Mataji just mentioned about, how things get in your favor or something you didn't expect and has happened. Now, going just the opposite. What in a situation where you're expecting something, some result or something, and it doesn't come out as per your expectations. So I think, and I think I know the answer, but how to control yourself, how to control your emotions, your sentiments, and how to let not your relation with Krishna be jeopardized just because you were expecting something to happen and didn't happen. Your desire, Did I put a question or I
Yes,
was just
yes.
making statements?
Motherji, you can go ahead and answer the questions.
Yeah, sure. So, so like something good happens, then we want to give it to Krishna. Something bad happens, we want to cry. Right? So Krishna is not going to be interfering with our personal endeavors in this material world, right? So, I didn't get the question. Like, if the success does not come, then what happens?
Yes, then what should be your feeling? What should be your emotion? How to control your sentiments? I mean, so that, you're not blaming it to Krishna or your relationship with Krishna, or you're not starting to put your mind into, oh, where did I go wrong? Maybe, what I didn't do right. And even so much about what service didn't I do right. And again, all these things get kind of entangled and all mixed up. How to
Yeah, I
keep
mean,
that path.
personally, what I do is I keep a bigger picture in the mind always, because we come with the destiny, and we have these Kutam Bijam Falonmukham, we have all these reactions that are waiting to be fructified. So something will happen that will bring some of my past stored reactions into actuality. And that's what this whole study is all about. The chapters, the initial chapters 3, 5, is to how do we take the failure, because a person who is equal in success and failure is Pitadi Muni, right? He's a stable-minded person. He is eligible for further progress. So it's a training. You do your part, and you remember the actual success to happen. There are 5 factors. Your endeavor, your senses, your body is only a part of it. And the last factor is the sanctioned by the destiny. So if the destiny did not sanction, if Krishna did not sanction, then no matter what you do, it's not going to happen. So it's just explaining to us ourselves and practicing again sadhana bhakti. Over a period of time, we learn that success comes and failure comes, and they are a part of this world, and it has nothing to do with Krishna and me. You know, that journey is different, and this is a part of life, whatever. So I don't know what other answer we can give, or we can go ahead.
Yeah, the second chapter, the 14th verse, it gives the explanation, right? You know that, right? Matras Parshastra Kaundeya, Shidoshna Sugadukada, Agama Paino, Anityastamstidakshwasa Bharata. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, their disappearance in due course, like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer, they arise from the sense perception. That's what it's about. It all arises from the sense perceptions, and that's not permanent. It's temporary. Our problem, our main problem, is like a cow tied to a pole. So you know that I think I did that. You know, we had cows at the home. Just untie the cows from the shed, and then bring it to a field in order to graze the grass, and you know, it just tied to a pole. So the cows goes around, and it cannot go certain, you know, beyond, because it circle around. And when you go there, you know, it's made nice circle around that pole, central pole. So there is a rope which tied to that pole. So that's all the cow can do. So that's all. That's the same situations we are. We're tied to this world with this rope of desire, ego, false ego, everything. So the main rope is actually our false ego, that, you know, yeah, I is in the center. We are always tied to this I in this material world. I, me, myself, mine. So then as long as we hold this false ego, it's very difficult to overcome or come out from it. Like a cow cannot come out from its paw unless somebody untie it. That's our condition. So we tied ourselves with this false ego in this material world. I, me, myself, mine. This is the problem. So, but we need to see things beyond and understand, nothing is ours. Everything belongs to the Supreme. Everything is controlled by Supreme. Everything is maintained by Supreme. We can't do anything. We cannot create anything. Nothing is ourselves. So everything is Krishna's. Like Srila Prabhupada said, we are the thief, not Krishna. We all call him Makan Chor. We call him Chor, thief. But who is the real thief? We are the real thief. We try to steal from everything from away from him. That's our problem. So we should, see that Krishna is in the center, not we are not in the center. When Krishna is in the center, then everything should, anything happens in this world or anything happens to us, we have that great grip, great hold of Krishna. There's nothing to fear in this world. This happiness is all temporary, flickering. It's called Chapala Sukham. It's all flickering. It's Chapala. Very, flickering. It comes and go. Winter like winter and summer. That's exactly Krishna says. So we should firm on this. Me, just take it out. My, take it out. I, take it out. Right? What is rest? Krishna, the Supreme Lord. If he wishes, if he is willing, if he gets, I'm happy. If not, I'm not happy. Like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that you can put me in any condition, whether, trample me or give me, it doesn't matter. For whatever it is all yours. So if everything comes from you, then where is the question of distress or unhappiness? It's all yours. That is exactly the great joy derived by the gopis in the Vrindavan. not comparing ourselves with the gopis, but what is the situation is that they had such a understanding and the faith and the vision. They are deriving every moment such a pleasure, even just thinking of Krishna. So that is our God. So we have to practice for that. Just Krishna. We should see Krishna in everything. Should see Krishna in every, like one day somebody asked Kadamba Gandha Maharaj, have you seen Krishna? Kadamba Maharaj stopped for a minute and replied, yes, I see Krishna's hands in everything. So that way I see Krishna in everything. So that's why I see Krishna in Krishna. So we have to have that vision, Krishna in everything, not me or myself, I or mine or myself. That way we can, we will not go through these dualities or dvanda, dualities of this world, happiness, distress. This same happiness comes today and tomorrow will not be happy. Something else will be there. How long we will continue like that? We know that it's just a matter of, there is nothing like happiness in this world. It's just a temporary relief from our pain or distress. So we get little sukha, little happy or pleasure. It sees that everything is there. So when we put our senses for all these things, so then we will continue to seek more and more and more. So we'll not be happy. We'll not be never happy if we do that. The one who controls it, he'll be the happiest person. Like, you know. Yeah, just wanted to put it.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for asking wonderful questions. That's great. You know, it reminds us, you know, so wonderfully.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Jai. Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. Okay, if there is nothing else, then let's conclude. Let's conclude our today's session. Please try to join every day. This is not an ordinary or a material, you know, pursuit. This is Krishna's mercy, understanding Him, realizing Him, going beyond.
Krishna, I don't know if it happened. No, it just,
yeah. Which goes beyond. So please join.
Connection got in trouble or something. I know.
The systematic study. So this is really helpful, really helping, and many devotees are commenting that these classes are really helping them have the, you know, proper understanding. That's our one problem, right? That we don't get things properly, we don't understand things properly. So it's helpful. So humbly request everybody, please join every day and as much as possible. So this is our daily routine now, right? Hearing Bhagavad Gita and transcendental subject matter in the evening. So thank you so much. And let's pay our obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhasya
Panchakalpatarubhasya Kripasindhubhya Patitanam Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavvrinda
Jai
Indira Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavvrinda ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari
Hari Bol. Thank you, Govinda Nandini Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.